Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. This is optibotimus coming to you with another video review. And today we're going to be taking a look at the new Hot Toys Iron Man 3 diecast series Mark 42. As always, taking a look at the packaging first. Much like the War Machine that I reviewed a while ago, it comes in this really nice heavy-duty package. As you can see, it is the Movie Master Series number 197, and it's the DO2, otherwise the diecast O2, although this is technically the third diecast figure that we've gotten. The first being the War Machine, then the repaint of it into the Iron Patriot, and now the Mark 42. Really nice package though. It has a clear section on the outside, and it's really hard to tell, but it is a bit of a three-dimensional, well, not really three-dimensional, but on the clear portion here, they have this white outline on the actual figure. I don't know how well you can actually see that move, but it's not on the actual box underneath, which is really neat. I don't know how well that's going to come across, but when you get it in hand, you'll absolutely know what I'm talking about. You see Mark 42, XLII is Roman numerals for 42. In case you didn't know that, you come around here to the back and you see the cast and crew responsible, as well as the various warnings and things of that nature. And then much like that War Machine and Iron Patriot diecast figure that we got previously, it just slides up just like so, revealing a heavy-duty styrofoam construction underneath that has Mark 42 actually etched into the styrofoam itself. And then you just lift this, kind of set that off to the side, but this is very heavy-duty cardboard, really high quality. I mean, with the diecast figures, it's almost like they stepped up their game even more in terms of the packaging. But for the styrofoam, you can see it's very high-quality styrofoam. It's not the kind that's going to flake away or fall apart or anything like that. Then you have underneath here the actual plastic tray that, just setting that there, has his display stand as well as the batteries, which I'll touch on in a little bit. Then you've got the actual figure on the inside here. Now I'm going to try to do this without anything falling out, but you do want to be a little careful when you're pulling this away. And I'm already hearing things falling, so that's not going to be good. I'll just hold it on an angle and then just pull this. Oh, a whole bunch of stuff just fell. There we go. But through some movie magic, I'm able to put it all right back, and you didn't even notice that it was gone. Oh, well, except for that piece. I forgot that one. So, stupid, silly parts. But as you can see, they're all just kind of sitting right in there. The figure's right here in the middle. But obviously, I don't want to spoil that for you guys. So just taking this, and I'm going to put this right back on there just so that things don't fall anymore. And just stick that there. There we are. Nice and pretty. But beyond that, that's about it for the packaging for guys. So without further ado, let's get him out here and see how cool he actually is. Alright guys, so here we have the Mark 42 opened up and out of its packaging. And this guy really has an absolute phenomenal look to him. But as usual, we're going to take a look at his accessories first. And he really does have a pretty substantial amount. A lot of them are kind of the battle damage, which absolutely adds to this figure, and that's where a lot of the additional part count come from. But starting out first, you can see that he does come with a whole bunch of batteries. They all are separate and you have to put them in. But what I absolutely love is at least this one comes with a screwdriver. When I put in the batteries for the Python, it doesn't come with a screwdriver, so I had a hard time finding the right fit, and several times I was worried that I was going to be stripping the screws. So I really appreciate and love the fact that they thought to include something like that. That's a wonderful touch, and I really hope that if they're going to start all the time having batteries be separate that collectors can put in themselves, I really hope that they start including screwdrivers every single time. I really think it would just help things. Now, in addition to the two closed fists that I currently have on him, as well as the clean, straight wrist guard, he comes with two additional pairs of hands. One that, you got a both right and left one that is articulated, so that trend continues on, and I absolutely love it and appreciate that. These are my favorite hands of all the Hot Toy figures, even outside of Iron Man figures. I just think that these are the absolute best hands. And they also does come with a both right and left hand with the wrist angled up so that you can get the repulsor blast going with them, which again, an absolute wonderful thing that I think that at some point in time they could probably figure out a way to make this flex up so you'd only need two hands. hands, those being the articulated ones. He comes with a pair of clean shoulders that again are currently on the figure, and then he also does come with 2 additional battle damage ones, and you can see both the right and left one have different battle damage on them. So it's not symmetrical. It's a wonderful look. Now, as I said, he does come with 2 straight clean wrist guards. He also does come with 2 straight battle damage ones, and again, you got different battle damage on them. I don't know how well that's coming across, but it look yeah, you can see it, but you got some black scratches here where you got some silver scratches there. I mean, it looks really nice. Then he comes with 2 clean angled ones that are used in tandem here with the wrist, or the hands with the upward wrist. Oh, well, if I position it right, so you can get that sort of look going, which again, absolutely fantastic. And he also does come with 2 battle damage ones, and again, the battle damage is different on each side, which just really helps to customize that look. He comes with 2 different sort of right forearm pieces, which are really very cool. They're actually a whole new sort of design that incorporates magnets. First, he has just this sort of, I mean, it's a little bit dirtier than what's actually on him, but you put him together and he's got a single missile that launches, and then you can see that he's got some metal on the inside here. On the forearms, there's actually magnets that put them together, it locks them together, so that's one of his arms. He also does come with a battle damage upper bicep area, but that's only for the right arm. And then also on the right arm, he's got another forearm section that has battle damage, and again, it's got the magnetic section. But you can see that the battle damage between the right and left is also very different, which is terrific. I mean, it is so nice to see that they didn't just keep the exact same thing and use the same parts. It's a wonderful touch. He also does come with a battle damage chest piece that really nicely exposes a lot of the detail that's underneath the clean chest piece. It shows a lot of that same detail, or it shows a lot of that detail that normally we don't get to see because the clean piece kind of covers that all up. So that's a really nice piece. And then he comes with an additional head and battle damage mask. Now this head here has the Tony Stark portrait. So coming in here a little bit, you can see really great detail on there. You got some scratches and you got some blood replicated by the paint and everything. Very, very nice. And then again, you got more scratches here along the side. And then, like I said, he does come with the battle damage faceplate that magnetically can sit on the top like so, or you can bring it down. And again, more magnets, and you have that look for him. The detail on this is phenomenal as well. I mean, you can see on the inside here just some really great looking molded detail. Absolutely dig it. Now, I don't necessarily know if this is the exact same portrait that we got with the mechanic version of Tony Stark. I'll take a look at that here in a bit, but really nice. Now, this does not light up or anything of that nature, but one thing that I will say is that the alternate head, you can take this, and this mask can also be used on that light up version, except the helmet is a nice clean helmet, and this is all scuffed up, so you probably really wouldn't want to use that mask with the light up feature, but you could still use that if you wanted to. But again, terrific looking portrait, great likeness. I have a issue with his eyes sort of looking up and to the left. That kind of bugs me, but to be totally honest, I really don't think that I'm going to be using this portrait on the figure, so it doesn't bug me that much. And then for one final accessory, he also does come with this display stand. It does light up. You can see the light up section around here. It takes a couple batteries that you install in here. You got the on and off switch. I didn't install them or anything because honestly, one thing that I dislike about some of these is that they don't make it where you can plug in an AC adapter. I really wish that they would do that with all of these so that you could kind of stream them along and connect them all so they can light up instead of having to replace the batteries. That's one thing that bugs me. I like being able to turn them on whenever I want to without having to take it up, flip the switch, put it back down, put the figure on, all that stuff. It's a nitpick of mine, but when you're talking how much you're paying for this, I really wish that they would include that. That way it gives it a more permanent sort of feel and not a constant, I have to resupply that kind of thing. That's kind of annoying, but I love how this does adjust. You can have this be wider, you can bring this in, you can do that on both sides, so you can adjust that for the different size feet that the figures have. That's very handy. I love it. You got the Iron Man 3 Mark 42 plate right here on the very front, which it's kind of hard to see because it's very reflective reflective. And then it comes with a metal pillar and then the adjustable stand. It can't use the dynamic flight pose. They tell you not to use it because they're afraid that you're going to drop this on you. And I guess I could see it if you bend this in a way. This is pretty heavy. It may actually make that flexible pillar damage over time, but I still would like to see it at some point in time, maybe as a way to make these guys look like they're flying, but I digress. So now we're going to take a look at all the accessories being added onto them. But one thing that you're going to notice is that when I was showing you all those, there was no battle damage parts for the legs, which is pretty unfortunate because he was battle damaged all over the place. Now we did get some battle damage parts that came with the mechanic version of Tony Stark. Those are just pieces that are very similar to the wrist guards. They just clip around the actual body, so there's no way to take those and use those on this, which is pretty unfortunate. I wish they would have done it where it's possible to interchange those. So coming up to the top, because that's where all the interchangeability really takes place. So starting off first, the real simple one is just taking off his head. Just pop it off. It's on a ball joint. And one thing that you're noticing, at least I notice on mine, is that the actual ball section, or well, the whole section here, is a little bit wider on the one with the light up feature than it is on the one with the Tony Stark portrait. I don't know why, but it also makes it harder to actually get this to peg in. You really have to push it in there to get it to pop in. It's kind of unfortunate. One thing that I'm also noticing is that because it seems to sit down a lot lower on here than this one did. It's kind of weird. I mean, you can see that this has a little bit of a raised section underneath there that gives his head a little bit higher of a look. So that's kind of weird. I don't quite get that. But then you take the chest piece off, it just pegs in there. But again, you can see all the absolute gorgeous, intricate detail inside here. Then when you pull that off, well, you can see the difference here. You can see how there's a giant chunk here that when you put this back in, it exposes some of that underlying kind of circuitry, which gives a real cool look. Spin it around here to this side, this piece right here, this is all die cast. There's a lot of die cast that's in here. I don't know the specifics, but there is a great deal of it. A lot of it is in his leg. As you're feeling around, you'll feel parts that are colder than others, and that's how you basically tell that it's die cast, that and it's not plastic. But just taking this piece off, then you have this section. The replacement battle damage section just pegs on there. It's not die cast, it's just plastic, but still looks really good nonetheless. Now, angling this around, you take this piece off here, just kind of pull this off. Then you have the battle damaged one that you just sort of hook there and then push in just like that. For the forearms, like I said, the right one, you have two different ones. You have the one with the missile, and then you also have the one with the actual exposed, damaged, and circuitry and things like that. So you just take these and separate these. They're magnetic, so like I said, you got magnets on the inside here, which really does kind of look weird when you take it off, but you just pull this off, then you just put this right on there, line that up, kind of bring this around to the other side, and then this connects just like so. Then the hand, I'm going to leave the fist on there. You can have the battle damage wrist guard. You could have the slightly angled one for the repulsor blast if you really wanted to, or you can just have the straight one. I'm just going to put the straight one on there. So lining that up, put that in there like so. And to be totally honest, I actually really prefer the just regular battle damage one as opposed to the missile, so put that on there. And you notice that it does also come with a different bottom section. Both of these here, I'm just going to take this arm out, it just is a ball joint, but both of these have slightly different battle damage on here. I don't know how well you're able to see that. You can see it better if I zoom in. You can see that there is different battle damage on the inside of the actual forearm. So that is actually really nice. It's not just a reuse of the inside of that forearm piece. So putting that back in there just like that. Then coming around to this side, and again, this piece comes off. This is also die cast, as I mentioned. Take this section, peg that on there just like so. This unfortunately doesn't have a battle damage bicep, but again, at least when you have it like this, it doesn't have a symmetrical look, which I do appreciate. I think it's really nice. Then you just take these, separate these, and again, you just take the battle damaged forearm, put that there, put that there. I mean, very strong magnets, very impressive. It's always very interesting when you take a look at the new magnets that they use. The ones here in the forearms are very, very strong. Now, much stronger than like the ones that you use up here for his head or something like that. It's really impressive. I do dig it. But there you have him with his battle damage look, and I absolutely love it. I think it looks terrific. What is a little bit unfortunate though is you have this very battle damaged upper body, and then you come down to the lower body and it's very clean. That really does kind of bum me out. I honestly don't know how well they could have incorporated, because like I said, there's a lot of die cast in here. It's cool to the touch, so I don't know how much of that could have been swapped out. But regardless, it gives it a very unique and very cool look. Now, for his articulation, the head is on a ball joint, so I'm just going to pull that off. And then, as I was talking earlier, if you really wanted to, you can take the clean mask and you can put that on there. But again, you have the rest of the helmet, which is scraped up and dirty, and even down here at the bottom part of the mouth, it's scarred and dirty looking. So that it doesn't really fit very well. This just fits with the style a lot better, and getting that to line up. You have to kind of take the mouth section and tuck it underneath to get it to line up. But articulation, you do have the head that's on a ball joint. It isn't a very good ball joint. I mean, that's about as high as you can get it looking up, which is kind of unfortunate. Now, if I pull this off and swap this with the light up one, you can see it actually goes up a little bit higher, just because it's got more of that extension down here on the bottom, which is kind of weird. I don't quite get that. He does have the ball jointed shoulders that move in and out, nice and rotate and things of that nature. It does move in and out. Now, there has been a lot of controversy with this. I just took this off just to kind of show it to you. There has been some kind of a problem with this shoulder. Zooming in to take a look at that, you can sort of see that on the outside, like here, in here, there are little rubber pieces. Now, those rubber pieces in a lot of people's figures have been getting warped and damaging the shoulder, to the point where you cannot rotate the shoulder down at this joint anymore. What I think honestly is going on is those are very soft rubber pieces, and when you're moving them back and forth, it appears to be pretty tight inside there. So by constantly rotating it back and forth like that, and I can feel it, it starts getting tighter, and there's a squeakiness. I don't know how well that you can hear this. Let me see if I can pick it up. Trying to make this not make noise, but you can kind of hear the squeakiness. What I honestly think is happening here is that the arm, because that's rubber, I honestly think when you're moving them up, well, I have to put the arm all the way back in. I honestly think that when you're moving it up, what's happening is you're creating friction against those rubber pieces. And I mean actual rubber, not plastic. I'm talking like rubber band rubber. So when you're constantly rotating it, it's going like this almost. And what I think it's doing is creating friction. Now, when you create friction, you also create heat. And heat makes things expand, especially rubber. So what I think is happening is people are going like this really fast, and it's superheating that rubber and it's warping it. As that rubber expands, it becomes harder to actually continue to rotate. What I've noticed is, in between shooting this video, it's gotten very tight, moving it up and down, but now it's much smoother. This one isn't, because, well, and that arm keeps coming out. This one has gotten a little bit tighter, but I've been doing it more on that side. So it's almost like you have to stop rotating the arms for a little while, let it cool down, and then you continue to do it. Or people are saying just go slow when you're doing it, and that's something also that would work, because it's less friction. If you're going faster, you create friction faster. So by going slowly, and you can see I'm rotating it all the way down here, but and a lot of people are like, you have to hold it up here. I don't think you really have to hold it up here. Just going slow allows you to not create that heat and friction as quickly, making that rubber heat up and warp. That's what I think is going on. So if you do have it, be very careful. Now, there have been reports that Hot Toys has recognized that there is a problem with it, and they've removed one of those rubber pieces to make it less tight in that arm. As I showed you, there are two. There's one on the outer side and one on the inner side. They removed one of them. Mine doesn't have that. that though. But I think in the long run, if you're just careful with the figure and don't constantly go like this with the arms and ruin that rubber, I think it's going to be okay. Now you can see that it also rotates at the upper part of the bicep. It can extend out. You can see it goes in and then out, so you can get a much wider range of motion with the shoulders, which is absolutely terrific. The elbows here have a little bit of a double joint. You can see a joint right up here, and then there's another one right here, but all you're gonna get is a little bit higher maybe than a 90-degree angle, not much, just a hair above 90 degrees. And then he rotates at the wrist. If you have the individual fingers or the hands on there with the individual finger articulation, obviously you have all that, not that one, but you do have the 2 joints here at the thumb, and then you have 3 joints at the finger. But again, that's if you have that on there. Now for the waist, you can see he rotates, he moves forward and back a little bit, not too much, but again, you can extend it much, and it's kind of tough to do. Extend it up, and then I love how it actually still fills in the gaps, so you can then bend it down a whole lot more, which again, wonderful, wonderful touch. And then you get a little bit more of a twisting motion, and then it can go side to side once you extend it. Now I'm going to take him off the stand here. I don't know why I've been using the stand. Well, it's easier to do it when you're putting all the pieces on there. He does rotate in and out here at the actual hip, moves forward and back, but, and my wife actually mentioned it, this dude's got no butt. He's I don't know why I'm bringing it up on my wife. The first thing that she looked at, she's like, he ain't got no booty. Where's his booty? I mean, and he don't. I mean, that's completely flat. So Tony Stark has no junk in his trunk, I've decided. Or she's decided. This piece here on both sides lifts forward, so you can bring it up a little bit further. That's about as far as you're able to get it when you lift that piece. But if you come around to his butt and you push a little like rubber piece right in here, it will detach this whole section, and you can see now that whole hip assembly loosens up and his leg can go that much higher, which is absolutely terrific. It allows you to get some much more dynamic poses, and even that really iconic ground pound pose that Iron Man's known for. He rotates here at the upper part of the thigh. It's minimal, but you can see that rotation. Then he's got 2 joints here at the knee. Goes back really far actually, and then when you bring it up, it locks and clicks on 1 joint, so you do have to be careful with that. But you do have that. The ankles move forward, back, in and out. These bits here are little flaps that move, allowing for that articulation. It actually it slides out, so you can get an even further range of motion forward, so that's nice. And then you can collapse that back up and in, just like so, and get that out of the way. There we go. Bring that down. And then one thing I forgot to show off is he does have air flaps here on the back, but they kept flapping open, so I had to show them. So there they are. And then for the light up feature, again, he does have several. You got the chest piece right here with the battery compartment, and then the switch here in the front. Very bright light. I absolutely love that. This one though is a bit of a pain. You have to take this, and then you have to take this whole head, and here, let me sit him there. And then when you get it off, you have to wedge your finger in on the side here and then pull this up. I really don't like how they do this. And then the other thing is that his magnets go right here that allow you to take the mask and have it hang up here. And they really suck at putting glue on these magnets. It's not very good, but they constantly would fall out, and they are actually a pain in the butt to try and get the actual batteries in there, because the batteries would want to attach to it. But you pull that out, and then you can take this, put that light on, and then you put this, and then you have to put this back on them. Then you take this and you put this on, and then you got his eyes light up. I really wish they would just go back to putting the switch on the inside here. I don't like having to disassemble the whole head, and it's kind of a pain in the butt. Now it's like I have to take it off, took that, put that back on there, put that back on there if I want to turn the lights on and off, which is kind of annoying. I do not like that. It's a bad design. So get rid of that. Hot Toys, don't do that anymore. And then again, as I showed you, you do have the light up repulsors that you can just put here, and you can actually see that it's such a bright light, it makes the plastic on his hands light up. So I mean, this guy really is very, very impressive. The die-cast thing is terrific on here. All the detail on here, I mean, when you look at all the panel lines on here, you got to remember that this is a suit that expands on him. The autonomous control, I forgot what he actually called it, but a part would attach to him and then like form around his body. So all these additional panel lines on here really look great and show just how intricate that is. I mean, you look at the back and you can see how all of, like, his stomach section here, all of these little panels just look terrific and just showcase very nicely. The color, some people have a problem with it because it's gold, more gold than red, and that's not very iconic of Iron Man, I guess. He should be more red than gold. But honestly, for me, I think that it looks really good. When I first saw the suit, I was not a very big fan of it, mostly because of that whole color swap thing, but it's really grown on me, and to date it is my favorite of all the Iron Man figures. Not my favorite suit, but my favorite figure. And then for comparison, here you have him next to the original Mark 42 that we got, which was the Power Pose series. But if you remember, this was basically locked in this position or just a flying pose. Articulation very limited. You had shoulders, you had a slight movement at the hips, but you can see though that there is a real improvement in terms of the paint. While this absolutely still looked terrific, you could see a lot nicer details on this, really helping to justify the increased cost. In addition to all the extra engineering that goes into it, I mean, you could see like all the black lines that this has, specifically here like in the thigh. I mean, look at that, all the black panel lines that this has all over. This guy here just lacks all over it. And this still looked absolutely stunning in terms of paint, but this just takes it up to a whole nother level. But you can see that scale wise they are the same. This is the 1/6 scale as well, so you're looking at about 12 inches or so in this particular pose. Now, as I mentioned previously, of all the Iron Man figures that I have, this is my absolute favorite. The amount of articulation that they've put into it really has upped everything when it comes to Iron Man figures, to the point now that when I go back and I feel those plastic versions, despite how much I love those, I really feel like they're cheaper. And that sounds absolutely terrible, but this just sets a whole new standard for Iron Man figures from Hot Toys. The look I really do think is very unique, but I think looks terrific. And I don't think we're quite done with seeing a design similar to this. If we go by the images that we've seen for Age of Ultron, the suit that Tony Stark wears in that looks very similar to this one, just it has more red and less gold, so more of that classic look. But as I said, this look really has grown on me, and I really think that Hot Toys nailed it in terms of the recreating that same movie look. Now, there are a few things that I don't particularly like about it. I don't like how they have the helmet now, in terms of the fact that you have to take the mask off and then you have to take this section off to turn the lights on. I really dislike it. I wish it was just simple. You pop that off, turn the light on, and put that back. That's something I wish that they would redo. Now, the neck articulation on this is a little bit more limited. You really can't get a good flying sort of look with them. Obviously, the shoulder issue is a problem, so you do want to be careful with that. And that being said, when you are paying this much money for a figure, you basically want it to be perfect, or you would at least expect it to be in terms of the engineering. Now, everything else is all hand assembled and hand painted, so there can be variations, and I can understand that, but that's an engineering thing that I personally feel just wasn't put through the paces properly. But that being said, I also do really like what they've done with the swapping of the parts, especially here in the forearm area. The magnets, I think that's really cool and really takes that whole part swapping to a whole new level. But I do wish that they did something with the legs. It just, when you have this battle damaged, dirty look up top, and then it comes down to the lower section and it's just perfect and pristine, that kind of destroys that illusion. So while it's not an absolutely perfect figure, I do really think that it's very well done. And it being a brand new armor and not just a repaint or a recycling of parts, I really think that a lot of Iron Man collectors are going to gravitate towards this a little bit more probably than they normally would. And that's even the case with just maybe casual Hot Toy or 1/6 scale collectors. A lot of those collectors that aren't big Iron Man collectors, such like myself, I guess, probably would avoid a lot of those repaints, such as the Python or the Midas. This one probably appeals to a wider array of collector out there than just the Iron Man ones. And I think that they did a great job. The increased price is well worth it if you ask me. The die cast, the detail, everything in here is very, very nicely recaptured. And in case you couldn't tell, I absolutely recommend picking this up. But as I said, do be careful with the shoulders. As expensive as this is, I would really hate to see anybody get it and not take that extra care and end up having a broken $300 figure. But all that being said, if you are interested in picking this guy up, go ahead and click on that link down in the video description. You'll go to Sideshow Collectibles where you can pick this guy up and you can add him to your Hall of Armor today. But beyond that, guys, that's about it. So once again, I want to thank you for tuning in. This has been Optibotimus. Don't forget that you can keep in touch with me by liking my Facebook page at facebook.com/teambotimus and by following me over on Twitter at twitter.com/optibotimus. Also, I'd really encourage you to check out my new website at optibotimusreviews.com, where you can see all my videos from the previous week, as well as see what I have coming up for future release. And finally, guys, I'd also really appreciate it that if you like this review, don't forget to please like, comment, and share this video. And until next time, I'll talk to you